Hello, everyone. If I sound sick, it's because I am. Just ignore it. Also, ignore the coffee stain. Let me just say, I was very excited to read this funny story by Emily Henry. I have all of her books, but I have only read 2 of them before this one. So I have read Beach Read, which I loved. I cried. I want the special edition that she's coming out with. I love Beach Read. Then I read Happy Place last year, and I was like, this is really good. I didn't like it as much as Beach Read, but I liked it. So I was like, this is coming out, and I've seen so many people on TikTok. First mistake, believing people on TikTok. People were like, this is her best book yet. It's the most emotional, blah, blah, blah. And I love a good romance with the side plot. I love books where it's romance, but you can also take something away from it. You know what I mean? Like Beach Read and Happy Place. So I was really excited for this one. I gave it 2 stars. This video is going to have spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, then click off. And I'm just going to tell you the overall summary of it. I'm going to tell you what I hated along the way. So let's get into it. So, funny story starts off with the main character named Daphne. She is talking about how she fell in love with her fiance Peter, and it goes on this little backstory of how they met, how he proposed to her, their relationship, okay? And then all of a sudden, she is on her the day before her wedding, okay? And Peter goes out on a little bachelor party, and his best friend, that's a girl. Red flag number 1. I don't want my men having a girl best friend. Anyway, her name is Petra. I don't know how you say her name. I'm gonna call her Petra. Peter's best friend's name is Petra, okay? And she goes along on the bachelor party because, she's one of the boys and she's different and she's not like most girls. And Peter comes home to Daphne and is like, I cheated on you with Petra. She confessed her love to me and I'm leaving you for her the night before our wedding. Mind you, I would have killed myself. Anyway, so she's like, what the fuck? And Peter basically kicks her out of their, house because it's Peter's. Peter is, rich, comes from, a wealthy family. So he has this big, extravagant house that, Daphne was, living in. And he's like, you gotta pack your bags. And she's like, you cheated on me and you're kicking me out? And he's like, yeah, sorry. So the only logical thing for her to do is to move in with Petra's boyfriend named Miles, because Petra was going to move out of their apartment that they shared and move in with Peter. Okay? Are you following? I tried to explain this plot to my boyfriend and he was so confused and didn't understand it. So does that make sense? He might just have a peewee brain. Daphne, it's last minute. She has nowhere else to go. She decides to move into Miles and Petra's apartment. So Miles and Daphne are now roomies. And mind you, Miles and Daphne knew of each other. They were cool with each other because they did double dates a lot. But they're not close or anything. So she's forced to move in with him because she has nowhere else to go. So a few weeks have gone by, and in the mail, Miles and Daphne, who just got cheated on, get a wedding invitation to Petra and Peter's wedding. And Miles is like, well, I'm not going. We're not gonna go. And Daphne is like, well, yeah, obviously. Miles and Daphne are they can't believe that they're getting married. So they're like, you know what, let's go out and have fun. So they get drunk. They go out and they get drunk. And in the drunkenness, Miles is like, we should RSVP to their wedding. And Daphne's like, what? And he's like, yeah, just we don't have to go. We should just say we're going to make them freak out. And she's like, okay. So they do it when they're drunk. And then the next morning, when she's collected herself, she's like, oh my god, we RSVP'd. And Peter calls Daphne and is like, hey, you don't have to come if you don't want to, blah blah blah. And then she in the spur of the moment, she's like, oh yeah, well, me and Miles are over the situation, we're dating, even though they're not. She just said that to piss Peter off. And Miles heard that, and he wasn't mad. He does the same thing with Petra. They take like Instagram pictures, and Petra sees it and she thinks that they're dating. They're doing it to like get back at them. And Miles also kind of wants Petra back, so he's like, oh well, this will make her jealous and want me back. That's about 50 pages into this book. That's that little section that happened. Okay, I thought this was going to be fake dating. They talk about going to the wedding so often. Okay, I was like, oh, that's gonna be so cute, like fake dating at their wedding and making them mad and blah blah blah. Okay, and then oh no, the dust jacket. Ugh, I fucking hate hardcovers. Mind you, this little sliver was the establishing that they're fake dating. This, they fake date a little bit, okay? Let's say that's 50 more pages. So we're 100 pages in at this point. It just shows that Miles and Daphne are trying to be closer as friends, and Miles is from the town that they live in. I don't think it ever said. I just know that they live in Michigan. I don't think it ever said the town name. Maybe it did. I skimmed through a lot of this book because it was so boring. But Miles is showing Daphne around because Daphne's like, well, this entire town reminds me of Peter. I want to leave. And Miles is like, no, like, let me show you around. Like, give it the summer. If you still hate it at the end of the summer, you can leave. But I know you won't. Like, I like having you around. Like Daphne is like his closest friend at this point. This book just gave nothing. The majority of this book is both of the characters going to their job and talking about what they're doing at work. If I wanted a vlog of a day of my life, I would have went on YouTube. Like, I don't care that you're working. Like, I understand that, like, you have to, like, say that they're working because, like, they do have to have a job. But just, like, be, like, a little summary of it. Or at least, like, show, like, Daphne is a children's librarian. And there were so many times in the book where the Emily Henry would just say like, oh yeah, she's at work, and would like describe what books she was reading and like the voices she was doing. Like, that is so many times during the book, and I was so bored. I was like, I have already read this. I don't care that Miles thinks it's cute when she does stupid voices when she reads books. Like, I literally don't care. Like, I don't care. It is so boring. And Miles is not a barista, what's it called with alcohol? He works at a winery. It talks about him working so fucking much, but like nothing happens while they're at work. So like there is no point to put in that many times them being at work. You know what I mean? I don't want to see characters working a job if there's not going to be drama that happens in that chapter while they're at work. It was just unnecessary and boring. And Miles continues to take Daphne on like little like dates, but they weren't even interesting dates. Like one time he went and showed her a place where he gets asparagus and they ate cherries or something. Just so like boring, like nothing interesting happened. There was like a little flirtation going on. Something would happen. Like Miles has like a background of his family. Like Miles's mom was like not good to him when he was little, and like his sister just turned like 20 something, and so she left and she came to visit, and so she's sleeping over at the apartment with Daphne and Miles. It was just so like stupid. Like I don't know, like it literally like there was no reason. Miles' entire backstory is like, oh, my mom was not a good mom, so I left, but I left my sister behind and I feel bad for it. Like, he's so beat up over it. Like, who fucking cares? Like, that's not that big of a fucking deal. She's an adult, and then she just left, too. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It was so stupid. Daphne's whole backstory was, oh, my dad was not a dad whenever I was little. Like, he would come around and he would only be there for like a day, and he would only give me presents to compensate for his love, and blah blah blah. He was just an awful dad. And they like I like romances where there's like the romance plot and then there is the side plot. Okay, you can have both, but in this book Emily Henry did not complete the love plot until the side plot. And do you know how bored I was waiting for them to get together while reading about this side plot that does not even matter? It wasn't even about them getting cheated on. It was about their family drama, and it wasn't even interesting drama. I was so bored. I was just wanting them to flirt and like at least kiss each other. I don't know. I've read so many stories where there are two plots, but the romance is resolved before the side plot is. So, like, they're together while they're finishing the side plot. Does that make sense? They weren't even together. Like, they did not, like, fully establish that they were together until, like, the last sliver of it. And the rest of this book was just so fucking boring. Like, I feel like the main concept of this book should have been them figuring out, like, who they are after being separated from this person, and they did kind of do that. But I felt like the second plot, like, the side plot, like, overtook them getting cheated on, because, like, Daphne's dad comes into play, and he visits for the first time in, like, years, and she's, like, been up over it. And Miles' this whole side plot thing, and Daphne has this other thing where she wants to move, and she's debating on switching jobs. Like, this just felt like such a weird book to me. Like, I don't know if it's making sense, but there was so much going on but no romance. And, like, I understand romance doesn't have to be the main thing, but if you are targeting as a romance book, if you are a known romance author, there should be more romance in the book. I don't want to read about people going to their job and having work problems. Like, that is so fucking boring to me. I don't want to read about, oh, my dad came back. Like, it was just, I don't know if I'm explaining this good, but it was so insufferable to read, and it was so boring. Whenever Miles and Daphne were hanging out, it was boring. Okay, boring. And mind you, they were fake dating to get back at Petra and Peter. They decided that they were going to go to the wedding to, like, piss them off. And then I was, like, literally looking forward to that. I was like, are we gonna get over this boring shit so we can get to the wedding scene? Because I knew drama was gonna happen. I was imagining Miles and Daphne, like, slow dancing in front of them and, like, being so mad. They cancel the wedding. They call off the wedding. There's no wedding in the book. They fake dated for no reason. Like, this book was literally a whole lot of nothing. So many stupid chapters that don't mean anything. So many little bitty plots that I didn't take anything away from it. I don't know why people were crying on TikTok. It wasn't sad at all. I cried over Beach Read. Daphne had a coworker and they became friends. And there were so many chapters about them playing poker together, and, like, nothing came from that. Yeah, it shows that they're getting closer together, but, like, it was, like, in detail, like, chapters about them playing poker. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I do not give a fuck. I do not give a single fuck about this. And then at the end, whenever Peter came to Daphne's door when Miles wasn't there. Miles had, like, ghosted Daphne for, like, 2 days, hadn't gone to the apartment. She's like, what the fuck? He not like me anymore? And Peter shows up and he's like, hey, have you heard? Like, we called off the wedding. She's like, okay, why? Like, she's over Peter at this point. He's like, I still want you. Like, I fucked up. She's like, I don't want you. And he's like, oh, so you want Miles? And he's like, well, guess who was helping Petra move her things out? Miles. And she's like, no way. He would never do that. Yeah, he did. Petra called Miles crying and he went to the rescue. He's like, I still care about her. No, if you were my man doing that, I would have told you to fucking go. And he apologizes to Daphne. He was like, it was a huge mistake. Whenever I got there, I immediately left, but, like, I still care about her. No, ma'am. No, sir. No. Like, I don't give a fuck if she called you saying I'm dying. You're the only person who's answering. Okay, let her die. She cheated on you and she is your ex and I'm your future. And you're ghosting me? Ugh. No. So fucking stupid. A waste of my time. It put me in a reading slump, by the way. I just finished it. Like, it took me, like, almost 3 weeks to finish this book. Because I just didn't want to read it because of how bad it was. But I was like, oh, maybe it'll get good because it's Emily Henry. No, it did not get good. So now I'm in a reading slump. I don't know what to read. Everything, like, I'm just, like, dreading picking up another book because I'm like, I'm going to get disappointed because it's not going to be good. So thank you, Emily Henry, for that. Thank you for this disgrace of a book. And I heard it's getting turned into a movie. So now the only Emily Henry books I have left to read are People The People We Meet on Vacation and Book Lovers. And my sister read Book Lovers and she told me it was not that good. So I don't really want to read it. And I do want to read People We Meet on Vacation, but I'm scared because what if it sucks ass? Just like this book. And yeah, I'm mad. You might be, why are you so worked up? It's a book. Yeah, I spent like $20 on this because it was a hard copy.